This is Selena Yvette, host of Stories from Planet Earth. Thanks for listening to the following show on Public House Media.
Hello, Choose to Rise fans. Welcome back to today's episode. Today, I have a very special episode for you. I have my friend here with me, Miss Addie Yoder. And let me tell you a little bit about her before we get started. Addie and I met, I believe it was exactly 2 years ago this weekend. Picture this, like I go into the gym at this hotel, this fancy hotel that we're at for a business conference. And there are tons of women in there working out because that's what we do. We are health and wellness coaches. And there were no weights anywhere, but there was this super kind little group of ladies that were hanging out, and we all decided to just do the workout together. Like, right? Compromise is a good thing. And we shared weights and it was awesome. And that's where I got to meet this really awesome lady, a midwestern girl at that, out in a big city of LA. And we just met and had so much fun together, and we stayed connected over the weekend and through life. And it's just been so much fun to get to know Addie. And she's not just a health and wellness coach. She is now like a full-on life coach and goes around and shares around the country with her farming background and her just advocation for agriculture and life. And just, she's a busy mom, and she is just an amazing human being. So she is definitely somebody that inspires me. And as you know, here on Choose to Rise, every month I'm going to be trying to bring some new voices to the table that of women specifically who inspire me, motivate me, have something amazing to share with the world, and people that I really think that you're going to fall in love with too. So that is where Miss Addie Yoder comes from. She is a mom from Missouri, and I would love to just have her introduce herself and for you to get to know her a little bit too. So welcome, Addie, to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about you and your amazing little family in Missouri.
Oh, goodness. So like you said, I'm from Northeast Missouri. We have 4 kids, and we farm. We raise corn and soybeans, and we have some cattle, and my husband has a crop insurance business. And then I started in health and fitness with Kim, and that led me to getting certified to be a life coach. You know, with what Kim does and what I did, personal development is such a strong thread in that, that growth for me was really addicting. And when I learned that I could become certified to help encourage other women and people to do that, that lit me up. So I took that opportunity and got a little scared and hid from it for a while. But just in the past about 18 months, I got my business license and kind of launched myself out into the world as a life coach, and really have started to find my sweet spot. Last weekend, I spoke at an agriculture conference in Iowa, and that is kind of like my favorite place to hang out. If I can help other people in agriculture to have some balance, to create a better community, to just live a happier and healthier life, I think that would make me happy all the time.
And that is exactly why we have you here today, to help others rise up out of their current situation to live their best life. And you just do such a great job of that every day. You show up on your social media, you show up in life. You are such an inspiring person. And so what is it today that you have for us? You're scheduling and just living life in a more balanced way?
Yeah. So one of the things that we actually use in our life all the time is how we deal with our time and commitments, because there's all these things, right? There's all these things that we have to do, like kids and sports and work and keeping house and family obligations, and all these things that are like coming at us all the time, when really probably we just want to Netflix, right?
Right.
but we can't. So how do we figure that out without feeling like a crazy person and without overcommitting or becoming resentful later? So a couple of things. For example, I have a client who calls me not on the regular, but often enough, and she is a morning routine person. And I know, Kim, you're a big morning routine person. Mm-hmm. She is a big morning routine person. I believe morning routines work for you or they don't. Some people are a night routine person. You got to do you. But this client is a morning routine person, and she gets up early and she has so many things she wants to do. And she'll call me and she'll be like, oh my gosh, I am trying to do my morning routine and something is not working because by the time I get my kids trying to get out the door, I am like screaming at them and I just want them to put on their shoes and I've got to handle this better and I don't know what to change. So the first thing that I always say, is, okay, let's back up. What do you have to do? Like, what's the bare minimum in that situation of things that you need to get done? I know that it would be glorious to be showered and have your hair fixed and your house clean and the dishes done before you go to preschool drop off. But do you have to do those things, or are some of them things that you can let slide and do later? What do you feel like you should be doing? Like, are those dishes, again, something you have to do, or do you just think you should? Can those slide? And then what do we want to do? You know, what are the things that we want to do to fill our cup, to take care of ourselves before all of that madness starts? And if we can break those things down into those three categories, usually things clear up pretty quickly. So I encourage her and other clients that I have the same conversation with is to take those things that we have to do. Chances are there's a lot fewer of them than you think there are. Put them on a Post-it note and stick them somewhere on the microwave, the refrigerator, inside the cabinet over your coffee maker where you'll see them and you'll think, okay, I have on pants. I ate breakfast. I fed my kids. Like, I've done the bare minimum. I'm free, right?
Yeah.
So
I love that you categorize things into that space first and then trying to figure out how you can fit that into your time. Is that your next step?
Yeah. And if you have time to do the things that you feel like you should, great. But if you don't, you've already given yourself permission to not do them. Mm-hmm. Half the time, I think for women, that permission slip is a big deal. Like, we feel like we should do all of these things, but we've never had anyone say, hey, you know, it's really not that big of a deal if you haven't washed your face before you go to preschool drop off. Brush your teeth, bare minimum, right? But if you haven't brushed your hair, nobody cares or knows usually.
Right. Yeah, there are a lot of mornings, and I'm just outing myself right now that, like, I will go unwashed, like unshowered, in bare feet sometimes to drop my kids off at school. I don't have to get out of the car. I don't care. They're getting out. I'm going home. Life is good.
You know, that list is going to look different for everybody. You and I both have the blessing that we don't have to like get dressed and go outside of our house for a job. And people that do that, you know, that, like I say, that list is going to look different, and everyone has different needs. You and I don't always need to look beautiful and made up all the time, but some people do, and that's great. So you make your list, you stick to it, and move forward and let the rest go.
Awesome sauce. So the first things first is, if you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling like you just need to figure out a new balance of life, is just to prioritize the things of your life, right? So in the morning, whatever time you have, things you have to do, the things you should do, and then what are the things that you want to do, and figure out how they fit.
Yeah. Cool. And so then there's always that situation, right, where something else pops up, where someone asks you to join a committee or take on a responsibility or help with an event or volunteer. And so my husband and I have kind of like this framework of questions we ask ourselves. He's a farmer and he has a crop insurance business. And he pays for most of our bills because, you know, I've been a stay-at-home mom for longer than I haven't. So his line of fire usually comes first. So we always, when I say we have the system, we don't like sit down at the kitchen table and directly ask each other these questions, but it's kind of a thought process for both of us before we put something in the calendar. The first thing that I usually bring up is like, okay, if I say yes to this, how is that going to affect him? Okay. Is he going to have to do extra chores? Is he going to have to be home in a time when maybe he needs to be in the field or on the road? How is that going to affect him? And is he in a position in that time, whenever it is, to pick up the slack? Because at our house during planting season or harvest season, or like the first part of March is really intense crop insurance business time. Right. He's not in a position where he can stay home and hang with the kids. Mm-hmm. So if I'm gone, that really impacts him. So I have to look at that first and think, that's in April. Probably I should say no to that. So then the next one would be, who's actually doing the work? Because there's lots of things people bring to you that are easy to say yes or no to, but it might not actually fall into your work. For example, we went to Disney World over Christmas, and we got back on the 25th. So we're at Disney World and Jocelyn and I are out and we're having this nice dinner. And I said, man, I really feel bad that I didn't offer to bring something to Christmas, which is the day after we get back. We had Christmas with this family. I said, I feel terrible that I didn't offer to bring anything, but I know that it would just be too much and I'm not going to have any groceries. And he said, well, my mom said something about homemade noodles. And I said, well, you better text her and clear that up, because she asked him and I didn't get the message. So there were no noodles prepared, and homemade noodles are not something that I'm going to spend the day doing the day after I get back from Disney World. And so I was like,
labor intensive.
way to say yes to that man who's not going to make noodles, right?
Right.
So who's going to do the work in that situation? Is it me or is it him? How is whatever this thing that might be added in going to affect my mindset or my attitude? Because there's a lot of things that sound great, but maybe later down the road I realized, oh, I didn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, it's a really busy time and I didn't realize that I was going to be crabby the 2 days before school starts in August. Mm-hmm. So how is it going to affect my mindset? And then, is it actually something I want to do?
Yeah.
And if it's something that I need to contribute to, is there an alternate route? So my example in that situation is, in the fall, it always pops up in our Facebook boosters group for volunteers for the food stand at the football games. And I think I absolutely want to support the boosters. But for me personally, as a mom, and this is 100% me, other moms do not stress out about this, I know. But it stresses me out to be in the food stand confined in a box and know that my 6-year-old is running loose out amongst the people. I need to know where he's at. Other people, that doesn't bother them at all, and that is great, but it stresses me out. So I'm just really honest about it. I tell the lady that's asking her volunteers every year, stresses me out. Can I bring hamburger for sloppy joes and nachos? Because we raise cattle, so I have hamburger. That's an easy thing for me to do that maybe someone else can't. And she's always really appreciative of the swap, but it doesn't stress me out and I'm still contributing.
Absolutely. And it's finding your strengths and what it is that you can give out of versus finding a way to just stress yourself out in a space that wouldn't be healthy for anybody. Right. So I love those questions and I wrote them down. I'll definitely include them in the show notes for anyone that's watching or listening on the road and couldn't write them down. So these are so awesome, Addie. Thank you so much for sharing all this. So obviously you kind of shared some goods and bads, like when it does work and when it doesn't work, but I love these questions and how you can just really organize and just really think through the process of, is this adding to my plate something this should do, or maybe want to do even, something that's going to help us or hinder us, and how it's going to impact your life as a whole. So just being intentional in your thought pattern is really so important to life and helping you be your best self, right?
Oh, for sure. And I like to tell my husband that sometimes it's just good manners. Like, right. And he rolls his eyes because he's like, oh my gosh. But I'm like, no, really, it's just polite to not make it all about you. Come on.
Yes. And like we were just talking in our church service this last week about how marriage is 100-100. And a lot of people don't understand that math, but like it's 100% serving as much as 100% receiving, and making sure that you are just being conscious of other people. And good communication helps all relationships, whether it's your marriage or your friendships or your business connections or whatever it might be. Just having that balance of life and understanding that helps so much.
Oh, for sure. And, I kind of joked and said, hey, we don't sit down and have this meeting about these questions, and we don't. But in all honesty, there's a lot of times when we don't even have a conversation about it, because I'll get to question 1 or 2 and I'll think, nope, not the right time. I'm not doing that. And we won't even discuss it, because I'll say, no, I know it's not the right time, and we'll move on.
Absolutely. And that's so good that like you guys have that kind of understanding with each other. You already have practiced this. It's just kind of become second nature for you. So,
right.
Except when he, volunteers you for noodles.
I'm sure he's going to love me sharing that story.
Well, we love you, Jocelyn. No worries. And so thank you so much, Addie, for sharing with us today and just being a part of Choose to Rise. And if people want to come find you and follow you or connect with you as their life coach, how can they find you?
I am on Instagram at addie.yoder. It's ADDIE.YODER. You can also find me at addieyoder.com. If you scroll to the bottom of the page, you can put in your email address. And I send out kind of like motivational, informational stuff on Mondays just to kind of help keep people up and happy throughout the week. And so that's kind of fun too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And a little other fun fact about Addie, she reads more books than I think I've ever touched or experienced in my life. She does all of that in like a week, but like she is a major book girl. And if you ever want to know more about personal development, obviously we talked about that already today, but like personal development or even just other books in life, she is your go-to girl. So definitely check her out for all that fun stuff as well.
There is actually a link in my Instagram bio for my top 5 favorite kind of get you unstuck books. And they're great on audio or in paper form. So if that's a resource you're interested in, I could talk about that for days and weeks. So in order to trim that down, I just put it out there. If you want that, go to my bio and grab that free link.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Addie, for being a part of Choose to Rise today. And I can't wait for others to just comment below this video, like, share, and tell other people about Choose to Rise, and leave us an Apple podcast rating and let us know what you loved about today's show. All right. Have a great one, everyone. Adios.